Quick, quick question about Ukraine. What's your position on the United States commitment? And I know you alluded to it before. Do you think Joe Biden's, let's call it a slow walk in delivering arms, prolong the war? And do you think this is a distraction, not a distraction, but do you think this is a coordinated effort between Iran, Hamas, and Russia to distract our commitment around the world? What would you do with Ukraine, I guess, is the question.
Well, I've been a very consistent voice on this. But let me begin with a criticism. Look, you know, people ask me all the time if Joe Biden has lost a step, right? I've known him a long time. Look, he's always been that wrong. That disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan could only have come from the brow of Joe Biden. Only. And it emboldened the enemies of freedom around the world. I've been a very consistent voice in this primary that America is the leader of the free world. We're the arsenal of democracy. And I believe it is in our national interest to give the Ukrainian militaries what they need to make the fight and repel that Russian invasion. I've been a consistent voice. Now, let me concede. Some people in the room might say, well, I don't know. I understand. Joe Biden's done a terrible job explaining what our national interest is there. And frankly, I think the American people have lost confidence in Joe Biden as a commander-in-chief. But Joe Biden gives these gauzy speeches about democracy in Ukraine. I don't think Ukraine is any paragon of democracy. They got a long way to go. Let me tell you what our national interest is there, okay? And I'm going to say this as a former vice president. I'm going to say this as the father of a captain in the United States Marine Corps and the father-in-law of a lieutenant in the United States Navy. I believe it's in our interest to give the Ukrainian military the support they need to defeat and repel the Russian invasion, because I think it will be, if the Russians overrun Ukraine, I promise you, in the very near future, that Russian military will cross a border of a NATO country that we have to send ours to go and fight. Ronald Reagan in 1985 articulated what came to be known as the Reagan Doctrine. Essentially it was this: if you're willing to fight the communists in your country with your soldiers, we'll give you the means to fight them there so we don't have to fight them. I think the Reagan Doctrine still holds today. It's part of what brought down the Soviet Union. And I believe in this moment it is in our national interest to give the Ukrainian military the military support they need to earn a victory there. And I think your other comment is extremely insightful. Vladimir Putin was in Tehran this summer. Iran holds the leash on Hamas and Hezbollah. If you don't see a growing axis between Iran, Russia, China, and North Korea, you're just not paying attention. And I really do believe this is a moment where America has to stand strong. And I'm going to continue to be a voice for that, because I believe it's in our national interest, in the interest of peace and security in the world. When the Ukrainian military, with our support and the support of other allies in the West, pushes Russia out, when Israel does what they need to do to hunt down and crush Hamas, the world's going to be a more peaceful place. But failing those two things in any measure, the rest of the 21st century could look a lot more like the first half of the 20th century. But thank you for your question. I appreciate it. Yes, sir, right here.